about having a cold and a mustache.
Yeah, the behind the scenes of Real Talk with Keith Smith is just it's essentially like a barbershop meets a
But
bar.
is it really any different than on the set when we go live? I think it pretty much is the same.
Is it different, Judah? The behind the scenes? A little different. I think
A few slight differences.
the behind the scenes.
Slight differences.
I think the on air is a smidge more guarded.
Yeah, without doubt.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when I first did this, I was super guarded with everything. Then I forgot. Yeah, I've got a splitting headache, sinus headache, and a rotten cold. So the secret behind the scene thing is if Smith's got something in his mustache, go to the 3-shot. So
The interesting thing about shows like this is, so I've been doing some kind of broadcasting for 23 years,
Wow.
almost 23 years, is oftentimes shows like this where you're a little under the weather, they often end up the best.
Really?
Yeah. Because you have to like lock in a little more. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like a little more kind of focus. It's something.
You realize who you're talking to, right?
I mean,
Focus, Smith. Focus.
It's interesting to say of the broadcasters in town, the hours you put in behind a microphone, you're right there with if you think about it, you do 90 minutes 3 times a week.
Oh, you did the math the other day. I can't remember.
90
what it
minutes
was.
3 times a week is
I
what,
wrote it
Judah?
down.
That's
Hold on, so I wrote it down.
almost 5 hours.
676. If I got that number right.
Almost 5 hours a week. The difference between Keith's 90 minutes, though, is Keith's 90 minutes are straight. Where like a Rob Schilling, who's a fantastic broadcaster, an award-winning broadcaster, he broadcasts an hour a day. So technically, each week, Rob on paper does 5 hours a week to Keith's 4.5. But Rob's 5 hours, that 1 hour a day is like 46 minutes of content.
Yeah.
44 minutes of content, where you're straight. So in totality, your on-air time is more.
Yeah. So I've got a splitting headache, and I'm going to trust you on the math.
Give you props.
I appreciate it. Thank
we'll
you.
have some fun. Viewers and listeners, join us in the discussion.
Chime in, please ask questions, case studies. We're into it. We're going to talk a little bit about what we predicted was going to happened on What the What. And
What the what?
What the What.
Judah, what the what?
And then we're going to talk maybe a little bit of matzo ball soup.
Matzo ball soup. That's my wife's favorite sickness remedy. We can rock and roll when you're
I'll tell
ready.
you about my mother-in-law's.
She loves the matzo ball soup. my
I
wife.
literally was
Swears
thinking
by it.
about rescheduling my day and taking a ride down to Pearlie's in Richmond to get some matzo ball soup.
Jewish penicillin,
Jewish penicillin.
the matzo ball soup. It's
Really
damn
doesn't,
good.
which really doesn't make sense.
My wife makes a great matzo ball. Rolls them.
Really?
Yeah, a great matzo ball.
Really?
Yeah, and she's Irish.
Yeah, okay. She's
Yeah.
a New Yorker.
She's in New York.
Yeah.
Grew up with the matzo ball.
Yeah, that's a
Jewish penicillin.
That's a New Yorker thing. Yeah,
The matzo
but-
ball is fantastic.
Yeah, and Pearlie's is good. I might have to write down there. But you know, what's the old saying? Feed a cold, starve a fever. You ever hear that before?
Feed a cold,
Starve a fever.
starve a fever. Okay.
Yeah. You ever
Can't
heard that one?
out exercise a bad diet. I've heard that one.
Can't out exercise a bad diet.
All those topics and more on the Wednesday edition of Real Talk.
And maybe some real estate.
And maybe some real estate. Judah Whitcar, let's rock. Ooh, people
Wide
are
on
loving
the
it.
set.
We're ready, Joe. Thank you. By the way. Good Wednesday morning, guys. Jerry Miller, and this is Real Talk with Keith Smith. Thank you kindly for joining us. The show where matzo ball soup is a topic
Du
of
jour.
discussion. It is
Du
a
jour.
topic du jour.
Du
Yes,
jour.
my
Soup
friend.
du jour, matzo ball.
That voice on the background you hear is the star of the program, the executive producer, a man who's battling a cold, who almost played hooky this particular morning to make a
Didn't even cross my mind.
a jaunt down 64 to Richmond to Pearlie's for a pint of matzo ball. Maybe the best matzo ball in the area.
So it's not a pint; it's a quart.
Oh, it's a quart of matzo.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
Like
That's-
double.
That's a huge difference. Yeah, it's
Like
a big
double.
difference. Yeah. How
Yeah.
are you, my friend? Besides the cold.
Oh man, I feel like a semi ran over me and backed up and splitting headache. Got sinus. It's all up in the head kind of thing. So as my father told me this morning when I said, "Hey, Pop, I got a splitting headache," he goes, "Son, you're not equipped to have a headache."
Oh!
Not exactly sure what that means, so he might be right.
You're not equipped to have a headache.
Yeah, no, it's just
Does that mean you don't have a head?
That means I don't have a brain.
Well,
have a brain to have
I'm
a
not
headache.
sure. Does that? I guess you have to infer the brain.
Yeah.
Not equipped to have a headache.
It's a New York thing. He was just busting my chops on that end of it. Yeah, so everybody needs to be super patient with me today, and but would love to throw some case studies and what's going on. We did end on Friday that we were kind of betting. Here we go. Here we go.
Judah, through shot.
Through shot.
Through
Here
shot.
we go. Smith's already going sideways. That we were talking about that folks are putting homes on the market on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that kind of thing.
We did say that.
And we were wondering what Wednesday would look like, and I sent Judah a late slide this morning on it. But as of today, there was 101 units in pending. On Friday, it was 86, so that's a 15% uptick. By the way, thank you, Judah. By the way, news are down by about 22%. So on Friday, there was about 95, and today it is 78. And so we're going to continue to see this. I mean, if those are interested in the real estate market, that's kind of what we're going to continue to see.
RealTalkWithKeithSmith.com. Scroll to the footer of the website.
And I do
Look
real
at the
estate.
fantastic firm that built,
You didn't say
designed, and
anything about my
developed that
haircut,
website.
by the way.
Oh, you got a fresh haircut?
Yeah,
I know. I was going to give you props.
We didn't start off with the haircut.
That was done between Monday and today. The fresh cut Keith Smith
It was
got.
done yesterday, and it literally took me 2 hours.
Where'd you go?
His barbershop.
Oh, barbershop?
Yeah.
Barracks Road? 2
Barracks
hours
Road,
run trip?
Barracks Road.
The mobile barber comes back into play, does it not?
I don't know.
$50 for someone to come to you? People say that's really low on a cut. It's got to be way higher. 75 for them to come to you?
I paid with tip and everything around 30.
Okay, so where's the line where you paid the mobile barber to come to you? I mean, you'd pay $50.
I don't
Save
know.
2 hours?
I got to ask Mr. Smith for $50.
You paid $50 to save 2 hours.
I would pay $50 to save 2 hours.
Bill McChesney, welcome to the program.
Hey, Bill,
Kevin
how you
Yancey,
doing?
hello, welcome to
Hey,
the show.
Kevin, how are you?
Grayson watching the program. Jennifer watching the program right now. Jennifer, if you have a question, please put it in the feed. We'll relay it live on air. I see those fingers percolating.
So the question of the morning is, what is your favorite cold remedy? Right?
It's the matzo ball soup.
Actually, I've got a different one.
What is it? The bourbon in the morning?
It could be.
Buffalo Trace?
It could be.
On a Wednesday morning in the I Love Siegel studio?
Well, mine was rum, but that's a different,
Okay.
different story.
Little rum?
But it's funny.
Wet the whistle?
It's along that line. My mother-in-law, God rest her soul, her remedy for a cold was hot tea.
Okay.
Has to be local honey, right? So
Yeah.
my mother-in-law, Jonas, from what they call Lower Austria. So this is a little village on the Czech border in the middle of the country. So it has to be local honey from that particular region where you're at the moment, and cognac. And then she would follow up and just keep on drinking them until you don't care any longer.
There you go.
So-
Pass out. The best remedy for a cold?
Well, if you
Pass out.
look at the bottle of these cold things, most of the stuff has got alcohol in it anyway.
Times were very different. I grew up with a mother on the soccer team who would openly flaunt a remedy to get her 2 boys to sleep on an airplane. You know what that remedy was?
A little sip of rye or something.
A little booze in the bottle.
There you go.
A little booze in the bottle.
Sure.
I mean, you're talking.
Look how you turned out.
My parents certainly did not. My parents treated the booze like the devil's juice, and as a result, look how I turned out. When your Southern Baptist parents treat booze like the devil's juice, this is the result.
You know what? It's funny. I was trying to do something a little bit different today, and I was printing out 100 getting to know you questions.
Oh,
Right? Because I was thinking we'd talk about something other than real estate at some point.
okay.
And that's interesting. I learned something. But did I ever know that you were a Southern Baptist?
I say on the show often that I was raised Southern Baptist, went to Catholic school,
How did that work?
and grew up in a Jewish neighborhood.
Whoa.
Yeah, religious mutt.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Raised Southern Baptist, and to the point of like youth group and big church on Sundays, then Sunday evening youth group, Wednesday fellowship.
Catholic or
Southern Baptist? Wednesday.
So how did the Catholic school get in the middle of
It's
it?
a great school.
Oh,
It's a fantastic.
so they
school.
weren't that much Baptist. They were Baptist enough.
They were very Southern Baptist. They just prioritized education,
Got it.
and we're fortunate that they were able to pay for it.
Not
By no means a wealthy family though.
yeah.
A family that was able to save and budget and prioritize, but certainly not wealthy. Remember those methods? Maybe the country can learn for some of those. Save, prioritize, budget.
Well,
Might be a topic for a different show right there.
that maybe not a topic for a different show, but I did a little work yesterday, and I sent out a bunch of slides to the team here, because you constantly ask me about, has the market been this bad before, right? As far as inventory goes, and if you wouldn't mind putting slide number 1 on, Judah. So for those that are listening, what I did is I ran. Thank you.
It's on screen.
Judah.
Keep it on screen for a little while there, J-Dubs.
I ran a 10-year analysis, right, versus active versus sold, right? So if you take a look at that, and those who may be listening can't see it, so when you get an opportunity, go on to Real Talk with Keith Smith and pull it down. But did you see the peaks and valleys in that, Jerry?
Yes.
So that is kind of what the normal real estate market looks like. It goes up and goes down. The times that are down are generally in the summer months. Right on that, the peak is usually in the falls and in the spring. But what I found interesting, because we get asked this question all the time, I'm going to ask you to jump to number 4, if you don't mind, Judah, please. So this is everything in the car footprint, right? So this is thank you, Judah. Single family, detached, attached, condos, new constructions, it's everything. Take a look at what's going on between April and May. So I think you're going to start seeing a substantial drop in inventory and probably sales going through into the summer. And the question is that a more normal? Are we back to one of these normal cyclical scenarios where we would go back in 2014, 15, and 16, start taking a look at where we were doing these peaks and troughs of inventory coming on? So, for those out there in the field, those out there doing real estate, I'd love to see what they're seeing in their world out there and jump in and feed into it. But I think we're going to probably start seeing a little bit of a bottoming out of inventory. Now, what did inflation do? Inflation dropped a little bit.
I'll take a peek here in a second.
I think it was like 4.6 or something like that. I saw it come in this morning. So, the lowering of interest rates might change everything I just predicted.
Well, I mean, depending on who you listen to, some folks say the line stays where it's at. Some folks say by the end of the year, rates will drop. Some folks say if inflation doesn't stop running hot, we may raise rates again. So depending on who says what.
Yeah.
Inflation eased to 4.9% in April, less than expectations. Comments coming fast and furious on today's talk show as we're live on every social channel. Coach Stephanie Wells Rhodes watching the program. Stephanie of the Interstate Service Company family and also of the Monticello Little League. Corey Park and that Little League over there are absolutely fantastic.
Little ISC too.
Our oldest is a part of that league.
Oh, really?
She says, my mom's theory was always rest, and I passed it on to my kids. You need to go to sleep was the remedy for everything.
Okay.
That should be the remedy for our boys, but our boys do not listen.
See you later.
My oldest son, our oldest son is 5 years old, and he is sleep adverse. Now, when he sleeps hard, but he resists.
Getting him there is the hard part.
He resists sleep. Chuck Ramey, I'm glad it's working now.
Maybe this is a little bit of that, a little something in the milk kind of thing.
No, my wife would never go for that. The only thing that works for our oldest son is dramatic amounts of exercise. We have to run him like he's a puppy. Like what's a good puppy? A tired puppy. What's a good toddler or a little boy? A tired little boy.
That's what Yona says about me. What's a good husband is a
A
tired.
tired. Go ride your bike, Keith.
It's like literally what she said.
ride your
She
bike.
literally says that.
Tom-
She literally says that. Get out of my face.
Go ride your bike.
I have enough of you. Go away.
Todd Rath watching the program,
Hey,
the
Todd.
owner of Blue Toad Hard Cider. He's a real estate investor himself
Yeah,
at
get-
Smith Mountain Lake.
Grab a little bit of blue toad, and maybe that might fix my cold here.
He says he ODs on vitamin C. He
Yeah.
chugs water. He eats
Yeah.
2 packs of ramen for the high sodium,
Yep.
a steam shower, and then he passes out. That's how he remedies
So we're
a
back to
cold
sleep again.
or a sickness. I mean,
Yeah.
the sleep is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Everyone needs sleep. That's one thing I don't do enough is sleep.
How much hours a night you get sleep?
Since our youngest has been born, I think my wife and I would both say that a full night's sleep has been non-existent in the last 5 months.
I was lining up for the race
I'd say that's fair.
on Sunday.
Yeah.
And there was, and if you ever do something like this, you're kind of scouting everybody out. And
Yeah.
Figuring out, okay, well, this guy looks like he's gonna like.
Who
rock
should I pair with?
That's exactly
He did a
it.
bike race on Saturday, guys.
Sunday.
Sunday.
So so that's when you start pair. You're trying to figure out, okay, which one should I pair with? And I'm sitting next to these guys, and they're talking. Oh man, I only got 7 hours of sleep last night.
Yeah.
And I went.
Don't pair with them.
I said, well, first of all, I went, those are not the guys I'm
Yeah.
pairing with. And then I tapped him on the shoulder and I said, you know what, I'd kill. Oh, maybe that's a strong thing. But I cannot remember the last time I had 7 hours
Yeah.
uninterrupted sleep.
7 hours of uninterrupted sleep would be a godsend.
Sorry, I lied to you. When I had COVID,
You got it?
I got
But you were
that.
sick.
I got that.
Yeah, that's different.
But I
7 hours of sleep that you...
wait till you get to be of a certain age.
Well, I know, you've mentioned that. You hit the head constantly, right?
Of a certain
My father-in-law is dealing with that as we speak.
You get up every
Yeah.
couple hours and you stumble and you do what you need to do and you stumble back and you may or may not be taking your phone to the bathroom.
You bring your phone to the bathroom. That's going to wake your brain up. If you're waking up, you have to go to the bathroom. And then screen time while using the restroom, that's going to keep you from going back
I
to sleep.
read articles about real estate. I actually literally do.
No, I mean, so do I. And I know you do. I know you're very well read. Jamie Turner, watching the program,
Hey,
said
Jamie.
during COVID, a barber that he went to had a price for a haircut if you wanted to skip the line and not
Really?
wait. You know what the price for that haircut was?
$100.
$1,000.
What?
$1,000 if you did not want to wait in line. Now he's in that D.C., Northern Virginia
Yeah. Got it.
scene up there, but a G note. If you did not want to wait in line for a haircut, I would never pay $1,000 for a haircut. Would you not, viewers and listeners? What is the price for a mobile barber to come to you? Jamie Turner, I mean, he says, and he said it in previous shows, that my $50, $75 comment for the mobile barber is way too low. It's unrealistic.
Well, it depends on the wear, right? It depends on the wear. If Northern Virginia, the wear, that number's a little.
My concept is.
So to tie this into real estate,
Yeah, please.
right?
And then I have a question for you about VCU and VCU paying $73 million to get out of a piece of commercial real estate where that would have translated into a 25-year lease and $617 million in rent payment. So VCU said, I don't want to pay, I'm going to pay $73 million now to not have $617 million in rent payments over 25 years
Yes,
in
they
Richmond.
bought themselves out of a lease.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's never a good
They're
idea.
catching serious you-know-what about this.
that's-
Because this is a school in Virginia, former Governor Wilder is saying Youngkin should intervene, should fire the VCU president, and should do a serious investigation into how this school is spending $73 million to buy themselves out of a development project. A lot of questions.
So was it the school? Or
it was
like-
VCU Health.
Okay. So is VCU Health the same as the university? Because in,
Similar situation that
as
as
UVA.
UVA.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah.
So it's not actually the university.
Similar situation. But the president of VCU oversees VCU Health.
Which is not the case.
Very different than UVA.
than UVA.
Yeah.
Very, very
Yeah.
different. Than
So
UVA.
Wilder, who works for VCU as a professor, Wilder, who has a government department named after him,
Sure.
held a press conference yesterday calling for his boss to get fired.
By the way, I like your pocket square.
Thank you. It was a gift from my mother-in-law.
Oh, cool.
We should talk about that. We should also talk about this.
So
this
I
is
was
a
trying.
topic.
I was trying to pivot from that because I'm not read up on that. So I'm gonna have to follow your lead on it. And if you don't mind, tag Jesse Rutherford. It's his birthday today.
Jesse Rutherford, happy birthday.
I think he's like 22 or something.
Stop. Jesse, if we put the over-under at 30 for Jesse Rutherford, do we take the over or under?
I think he's under 30. I'm supposed to know that. I think he is. I don't think he's over.
All right, if I'm putting
over
the
30.
supervisor in Nelson County, comes on the
I
program.
mean, I can cheat. I can
friend of mine, friend of
Okay.
Keith's.
I believe he's
Judah,
under-
three shot, Judah.
I believe-
If we're putting an over/under at 30 years old for Supervisor Rutherford, you would not take the over. He's taking the under on that. I would take the over all day.
Yeah.
I think I'd take the over as well.
I'd take the over as well. Yeah. So we should find out.
I'm not so sure.
What do you mean?
I remember having conversation with him how impressed he is.
I'm looking now, Judah.
Impresses me as a guy that
94. Damn, dude, he's under.
yeah.
Judah, you and I are wrong.
Yeah. I really cheated
Barely.
because I knew.
He's 20. You knew?
I knew,
You knew he was 29?
Well, I knew he was under 30
How'd you know?
because I've had this conversation.
Okay,
with him
he's
before.
29. Jesse Rutherford, we don't
I
need
do.
to age
I
him.
do actually remember stuff.
We don't mean to. Oh, is he? He's watching.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
watching. Jesse, we don't mean to age you right there.
I
Judah
wish-
and I both took the over
Well,
on 30. He's 29
He
Well, I'm
commented,
gonna-
he commented this morning.
on the show,
No, on the
on the promo
on
post.
Keith's post.
Yeah, yeah.
So a little hats off to him.
Oh,
right?
dude's the man. Love
No,
Jesse Rutherford.
Just think about this. Under
Jesse,
th-
I love you, dude.
Under 30, much like Gore, created internet in
Is he,
Nelson
no.
County.
Instrumental in bringing
Sorry,
fiber.
I got
Instrumental in bringing. Judah,
No.
are you in a
If
three-shot,
you
Judah?
listen to him, he
Get
created.
Judah on a three-shot.
He's the one that created it.
That's not true.
Yeah. Well, we're going to give that to him.
Jesse
As
Rutherford.
long as I'm the executive producer. I'm gonna give that to him.
instrumental in bringing fiber to Nelson County.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
I like mine
He
better.
was. He
Yeah,
was.
He was. Well, actually, in fairness, it started long before him. He just took it from a little groundwork and turned it into something also. But just think about this.
Oh, geez, Jamie Turner, correction. The $1,000 was during college in Farmville. Jamie Turner, did you go to Hampton Sydney?
Oh, time
Was
out.
it Hampton
He
Sydney
paid
College
He was offered $1,000 in Farmville?
No, he said if you want to skip the line when he was in college in Farmville. It's got to be HSC, right? Were you at HSC? Were you a Tiger?
In Farmville.
You could skip the line for a Gino.
That's no Northern Virginia.
I think it was more a statement of privilege.
So-
that if you wanted to do this, it's going to cost this. If not, shut the hell up and go back to your spot. That's.
Oh, yeah.
But I think a mobile barber in Charlottesville could command if they
Well-
said my Tuesday.
So let's do a business plan on that. But I want
Yeah,
to
he
get back.
went to Hampton Sydney.
I want to get back to Jesse and continue
A
my
lot of
kudo.
wealthy private school Hampton Sydney students there, Jamie Turner. A lot of Woodbury Forest matriculates to Hampton Sydney, Jamie Turner.
Yeah. Did he play
A
lacrosse?
lot of Walsingham Academy.
Did he play lacrosse,
My alma
Jamie?
mater. Jamie, were you a lacrosse player? You know what, Jamie? I think Jamie went to Woodbury. A lot of Woodbury matriculate. He is. He is a Woodbury Forest. I knew a lot of Tigers, but I forgot he was a Tiger. He went to a Woodbury Forest, which means he's a double Tiger, because Hampton Sydney's mascot is the Tigers. Woodbury Forest mascot the Tigers. A lot of Woodbury Forest matriculates to Hampton Sydney.
Well, my daughter used to swim there all the time. So
A lot of the school I went to matriculated to Hampton Sydney.
Yeah.
Good school. I could have played soccer there.
So back at Jesse,
Jesse Rutherford, 29.
under 30,
Yeah.
chairman of a board of supervisors,
Second term?
second term,
Yeah. Engaged.
engaged,
Has a successful construction company.
has a successful construction
Owns
company,
multiple real estate rentals.
owns multiple real estate companies. and-
No, real estate rentals.
Rentals, exactly. And bust his butt. He always does a great job. So I just wanted to give him a little bit of kudos. And my address is Jesse to send $100 to is. I'll Venmo me.
Jesse's a good guy. I want to throw this to you. This is important. This is real estate.
We're back on VCU, or we're
No, this is. You said you didn't want to talk about that.
No, I'll
topic.
talk about VCU.
I mean, if you're not up to speed, I can't ask for your take.
You can ask for my take. I'll quick do it. It's pretty simple. They bought themselves out of a lease.
Yeah.
And that's never, I don't care if you're VCU.
You don't think that's a good use of money? I had no.
Well, that
problem.
means it's a bigger problem.
Well, the $617 million was the bigger problem.
Yeah, there's a bigger problem. They picked the wrong property. They got the
Market
wrong
changed.
organization.
Yeah.
Market changed,
Yeah.
whatever. And somebody made a business decision. It's cheaper to do this than to do that.
Yeah, that's what they did.
Or depending on where the building is located and all that stuff. Because I know commercial real estate. I do
I know you do.
a fair bit of it. Usually what happens with that, there's a renegotiation of the lease, right? And something to the effect of, hey, let me sublease it out. At least I'm not burning that much cash. So I don't exactly know where the building is located in Richmond, but that's a big nut to crack to get at to use to get out of jail card.
Yeah.
It's not free, actually. I was going to say get out of jail free card.
And you know, the crappy part about this, and I talked about this yesterday, is I had no problem with them doing this to save $617
Well, they
million
made a business
and a 25-year commitment with $73 million up front. I had no problem with it. The problem I had was them trying to hide this and it not coming out to a Freedom of Information Act, a FOIA request from a
somebody did
local media outlet.
I did not
And that's
know
how
that.
it came out. If VCU Health had said, look, this is the situation.
We screwed up.
We screwed up.
Or
We're going to
whatever.
do this. I would have been like, smart. Good job.
It
But the
is-
fact that it came out that way.
It is always the cover-up
Right.
that gets you into trouble, or not necessarily a cover-up, but the lack of transparency, that gets you in trouble. That's one thing with us, right? We're about as transparent can be.
I mean,
So-
my wife would call me overshare Jer. Overshare Jer over here. So here's the question I would have
We
for
should
you.
get our wives together because they would tell stories.
Here's the question I have for you is this, could this ever happen locally in Charlottesville? The question Judah and I were asking was, does UVA do everything from an ownership standpoint? Which, if this was an ownership standpoint with VCU, they obviously would not back out of this project because
would
they
own.
own the project.
Yeah.
So that's the question I have
But
for
that
you.
becomes a whole different problem.
Yeah.
But,
Does UVA do anything in real estate where they don't own the project?
so I don't have enough information to do that, but my guess is going to be no.
That's the question I have. That was the question from yesterday.
They own everything. That's the reason they have the foundation.
Well, I mean, VCU has a foundation.
Yeah, I don't know of. There may be some small. Let's put it this way: this is a medical facility. Apparently,
Yeah.
is what it was.
Yeah.
Right. It was not an actual hospital, but
Be-
like a doctor's office.
Right.
That
It'd
kind of
be a-
thing.
Yeah.
I can assure you, they will own.
I mean,
don't
that's a
know.
question for anyone
I
watching
don't
this
know
program.
any-
I legitimately don't have the answer, and I would like to learn.
Yeah, my suspicion is that, I mean, I can text somebody right now and probably find out real quick, but, just as much involvement I have with the higher ups at UVA, it's all about ownership,
Okay.
right? And that's what you want to do anyway, right?
100%.
But it's a different story, though, if they own, so they're buying.
UVA has a position. Here's a curious question. I legitimately have a curious question here. UVA has a position in Midtown next to Cardinal Hall. They have, what is that, the Venture?
Mm-hmm.
The Venture office next to Cardinal Hall there? Doesn't Corin own that business?
He probably does.
Doesn't Corin own that building?
So the
Are they
point-
renting from Corin there?
They probably are. My point is something of this substantial size, I cannot see UVA. I may be wrong, but I can't see UVA.
Doing it without calling the shots as an owner.
Sure.
That's
I mean, it'd be pretty hard to get past Darden real estate without knowing that you should ownership is the key. Why,
then why did VCU fall victim here? This ain't a great look for VCU.
we're not in the room, so it's pretty hard to determine what it is. Maybe they couldn't acquire it. Maybe they didn't want to do it. Maybe I don't know when it went in. Maybe somebody made a better decision, made a decision. That's what they wanted to do at the time. But you should always own. I mean, I've got a half a dozen business owners in the city of Charlottesville that want to own instead of rent and forget about trying to find something. And I'm talking like retail spots and Class A office space and stuff like that. So if you in the world today, right now, you want to own, this better than anybody, own and lease it out on that end of it. So I don't think so. I think somebody just made a pretty bad business decision early on and thought it was the right one at the time, and Now they're trying to buy their way out of it. Ultimately, that's what they did.
I want to get your thoughts on this headline from London. Renters and potential home buyers in the United Kingdom are now able to borrow up to 100% of the value of property without a guarantee or deposit in a new mortgage plan introduced by the Skipton Building Society.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a slippery road.
5.49% fixed rate on a mortgage for 5 years, then the rate adjusts. Maximum term of 35 years. A building society is a
Think of it like UVACC. It's like a co-op kind of thing. It's like one of these lenders that do that. That's almost impossible to coordinate with here. So really, what they're doing is an arm, right?
Yeah.
The lending,
but no down payment though.
the lending structure in Europe is for mortgages are very different than they are here. It wasn't only until recently that you would actually see a 30-year mortgage. And I know a little bit about this. We've got family in Europe, trade property back and forth. It's very different. A lot of it is huge amount of cash up front. There also isn't the turnover that we have here, right? The turnover we have here is somewhere around, if you're depending on where you look, 8 to 10 years. These are families that stay in homes forever, right? And they go from family to family to family. You don't really have this huge turnover of property like we do here. But you just take a look at Austria. Geographically, if you look at Austria, it's almost the same shape as Virginia. The country of Austria only has 7 million people in it. I believe that's about what we have in Virginia. 7 million people. So it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different to move around. But the mortgage rate, but look, I think even if that product was here, do me a favor, go to slide number 3, Judah, if you don't mind. Even if that product was here, the inventory is dropping. If you look at the end of April, the first 10 days of April, we're dropping, we're plummeting. I think it's going to pick back up once we get to the back end of April. No, it's not going to drop like this one. It's not going to be at that steep of a drop, but what it'll be is it'll continue to go down here. But we're probably, I'll bet you, I won't butt my mustache anymore, but I'll bet you.
Smart guy. He learns.
I've done that once. I'm not doing that again.
But you did win the bet. Interestingly, the bet that you won was the bet you had the most to lose. The mustache. The bets you lost,
I felt really comfortable with
bottles of booze, which in the grand scheme of things, I know you fairly well. You losing a bet on a bottle of booze is not really a loss for you because you like to have a good time.
You know about the story about it.
Yeah.
So that was a huge bet for me to make.
I know it was. I'm shocked you made that bet.
So I think we're going to be somewhere around December, January of 22 as far as volume goes come midsummer. We're going to be midsummer. We're going to be looking like a traditional November, December.
I want to give you a hypothetical. Viewers and listeners, sit back. Here's a hypothetical for Keith Smith that's a bit challenging for the distinguished gentleman.
Let me take a sip of coffee.
This is a hypothetical for the loan officers watching the program. I see a handful of LOs watching right now. Mm-hmm. This is a hypothetical for the real estate investors watching the program, the elected officials watching the program. I see a couple of you watching right now. For the small business owners watching the program, for those that are lobbyists watching the program, I see a couple of you watching right now. This is a sizzle reel waiting to happen.
Oh, great.
You could start with what I'm saying here, Judah.
So, Judah, how's your day going?
Anyone listen to this hypothetical because it's a very real possibility. Are you ready for this? We would say we're undoubtedly in a real estate inventory pinch right now. And we've been in a real estate inventory pinch for how long, Keith?
For a while.
For how long? Estimate. Back of the napkin.
Back of the napkin. I think we've been in an inventory pinch, oh God, a couple years for sure.
Let's say the real estate inventory pinch does not improve, and in fact, it worsens as homeowners like yours truly stay in properties longer, because we've secured 2.75% interest rates on 30-year fixed.
I think that was happening regardless of interest rate, but go ahead.
If this inventory pinch does not improve and it persists, and we go another 18 to 36 months with inventory levels that are meager, as slim as they get, what does that do to Central Virginia? The economy, to colleagues, to various businesses associated with the supply chain we call real estate. I don't see this pinch improving. How's it going to improve?
Yeah, it's kind of, to be honest with you, it's kind of why I picked these questions, right? Let's talk about something else. We've been talking about this for quite some time, probably as long as the show's going on. If you go to slide number 2, that's going back 5 years. We're taking a look at active versus sold for 5 years. So about around December of 2018, now this is the whole car footprint to include the other side of the mountain, right? We were like below 200 active listings, right, in a month. We're probably going to be at that point now. We're at right now roughly 400. I think you're going to see probably in the next month or two that number start tweaking down a little bit unless this interest rates drop a little bit.
I don't think the interest rate drop is going to
I'm
encourage
talking about the
people.
mortgage rate.
I don't think that's going to have folks putting stuff on the market either.
So
It can never drop to 2.75 or 3.
So the struggle here.
Never's a strong word. It's not going to drop to 2.75 or 3.
Oh no, 5%. I think sub 5 would be extremely lucky, but we've got all these things happening to us, which is really unique, right? We've got people that are in the home that 2% interest rates, they can't move out. We've got people staying in a home regardless of interest rates, double what they used to. It used to be 5 years, now it's staying 10 years, and depending on some of the research that you're reading, when people at the closing table ask, they're like, I'm going to stay in for 15 or 20 years. That's probably not going to happen, but people are staying there in a hair longer.
You got people moving to the area.
We're not building anything more.
We're not building anything more. You got people moving to the area. You got no political capital for more growth.
And
Neil Williamson puts on Twitter and on the Free Enterprise Forum, a planning commissioner legitimately in Albemarle County says on the record, I don't think there's the political capital in Albemarle for more growth. Straight up says this in a meeting, a planning commission. And it's not the one watching right now.
And he's probably not that far off. So speaking of Neil, tonight is the city council. He's doing a roundtable discussion with them, so if you should tune on.
Wednesday, tonight, 7 o'clock, Sean Tubbs, Neil Williamson.
Yep. So look, but we've been talking about this.
Tubbs and Williamson, Williamson and Tubbs.
Is that like a Crockett and Tubbs kind of a Miami Vice kind of thing?
kinda
Look, you know, it's...
Sean Tubbs driving a Lamborghini.
Oh yeah, that'll look good. I would kill for a picture of that. I was going to say his hair would be flowing in the wind, but then I realized that wouldn't be the case.
Sean's got hair.
Really?
Sean's got hair.
Oh, look at that. That
Sean's
shows
got
you-
hair.
Shows you how much I pay attention.
He's got hair.
I agree.
Okay.
So part of why I wanted to look at this 10-year up and down is for everybody to be a little bit patient with one another. We've been doing the Yiddish word, right? Mensch, right? Everybody needs to be a little bit patient, a little bit kind to one another. This is going to get more difficult as we go through the summer. And this is when everybody's better side of themselves need to show up at the table, right? So, you know, this is not going to get better anytime soon. I'll tell you, I was talking to Yona on the way in, and I've said this before. This may sound really weird, but I am super pumped about this market. I am pumped. And people do that exact look at me when I say I'm pumped, because if you pull up slide number 1 and take a look at what happened over 10 years, and I've been in it for 30, I know, you know, we know what it takes to get it across the table. We know what it takes to go ahead and do it. It's a lot. There was all different reasons in different markets, and I'm throwing papers across the table here to go ahead and do that. But you know, we're be patient, guys. This is going to take a little bit of professionalism to get it. But what I'm seeing, and a couple agents are calling me on it, people are not being so kind to one another any longer. And that scares me and concerns me more than anything, to be honest with you. This is going to be difficult to start with, but not to be kind and not to be thoughtful and not to be professional with one another, AKA the bully offers we were talking about. which I love because my hair just gets on my back. I said, well, let's go. I'm in. But we need to be a little patient with one another to get us through this hump, because it's, to your point, it's going to be here for a while.
I mean, I think you're going to be looking at this, guys, for...
It's going to be here for a while. We're going to be talking about this 5 years from now.
That's what I'm saying.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Show me the project that's going to alleviate this in Charlottesville. Show me the project that's going to alleviate this in Albemarle. You've already told me it's not going to happen in Fluvanna. We're already seeing signs of NIMBYism in Greene County because we got stuff in the pipeline.
Well, you got 3 seats up in Greene. So you got 3 new seats in the seat. So nobody knows who those seats are, or what they're going to do, and so forth and so on. And that's going to put the brakes on, I think.
I mean, I'm very curious to see if Bob Fenwick gets on council. Because if Fenwick gets on council, that is a KPI that voters in Charlottesville are trepid with what local government is doing with housing and zoning. Because Fenwick is running on a taxes and housing platform.
Sure.
He's saying,
they all are.
No.
I don't know. I've been reading all their bios and their websites, preparing to listen to tonight and for future shows. A lot of them are using this housing affordability.
But Fenwick is running on a too much taxes. I'm not crazy about this zoning platform.
Yeah, sure. Well, look, we've talked about. That's why I'm excited about going tonight, and really, this is another big thing, right? This is 3 seats out of 5 that are up, and it's contested. It's contested. The Democratic.
You got 5 Democrats?
The Democratic. The election.
I suppose it's contested.
The election is in June. Well, we got 5 people up for 3 seats.
The election's June 20th.
I'm pretty sure that's
40 days.
Considered contested. Now, once that's done, it's done.
It's done.
Right? That's who.
Here's a question for everybody watching the show. Would you prefer a contested election in Charlottesville City and Albemarle County that's a Democratic primary? Or would you prefer a contested election in Charlottesville City and Albemarle County that's in November? Between 2 parties, or an independent and a Democrat and a Republican.
So here's the interesting part of that. Very few, I would think the turnout will be far less in the primary than in the general, right? Because November is a traditional time to vote. Usually there's other candidates on that. This is just a very specific, you've got to be dialed in to know that vote's coming up in June on it. A lot of people don't.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. That's a fair question. Would you prefer the contested election in November with the general, or a contested election in the primary Democrat like we have in Charlottesville City right now?
My answer is November, flat out.
General, for sure.
Yeah, flat out.
That's what I would want.
Not even, but to the point is that the volume of voters showing up.
Scott Thorpe, I agree 100%. I'll get to that comment here in a matter of moments.
So a very small amount of people are going to vote the direction of City Charlottesville Council, because really at the general, there's going to be some, Dave Norris is up, Bellamy is up, some of the state level votes are up, so people will go in November.
Dave Norris is running for delegate.
Bellamy
Brown. Actually, no way.
No, it won't be, because it'll be the same thing.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
That's a Democratic primary.
That's right. We don't have.
Yeah. You got Sally and Creed. That's a primary.
Right.
That's June.
That's a great question for Neil.
So what's the general election? Here's what you got in the
city of Charlottesville.
General election, city of Charlottesville? You got nothing.
That's all going to be done by.
Is the only general election, dude? Is the only general election locally that matters? Well, you got Board of Supervisors. You got a contested election in Crozet. You got a contested election in the Whitehall, Board of Supervisors.
That's it. It's only 2. No, really, it's Whitehall. Right, Scottsville only has 1, right?
Yeah, you got a contested election in Whitehall, and you got a general election competition with School Board Albemarle County.
I agree.
So then you'll have, in the general election in Albemarle County, you got 2 in Board of Supervisors. What's the second, Neil? Does Lepisto currently have competition in Rivanna?
I believe she does, actually. I believe that's a contested.
We know Dr. Bryce in the general election, and Allison Spillman for School Board, Albemarle County. That's November.
So back on the city.
To his point, this November election is going to have very few voting options because the primary in June is going to determine a lot of the sexy races. The primary in June will determine the sexy race that is city council, delegate Norris Brown, Katrina Colson, and will also determine Cree Deeds, Sally
I
Hudson,
think even
state
in
senator.
Flavanna, there's not contested. But we'll work on that. We'll work on some contested stuff. I think actually Neil sent me an email about that at one point in time. I was asking him about what is the contested races looking like, and that was when we got into the conversation about. I actually shared some information with him that there was 3 seats up in Greene County, not 2.
Neil makes the point, independents still have time to file paperwork.
Yeah. He's 100% right.
Scott Thorpe for Keith. Well, just for the viewers and listeners in general. Scott Thorpe's in the business. He's a realtor. He says he's a realtor and a broker. Scott Thorpe. He says if inventory remains this low for 18 to 36 months, per Jerry's hypothetical, then we're going to see a couple hundred realtors depart this business.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I was talking about by
You agree
looking
with
at that. We've talked about this, I think, a couple of times. I'm anxious to see in our first week in November show how many agents got out because their dues are up in October.
Right. How much are dues?
It's interesting. Everybody kind of hangs their hat on the car dues, but your MLS dues are way more expensive because you pay that quarterly through it. So that's your access to the lockbox and to the MLS. So that's a different fee than your dues. Be honest with you, I can't remember. The bill gets paid and we move on. So it's I don't know. It's under a couple grand. I can't remember the number, to be frank with you.
So your deadline's November 1.
I think it's the end of October, right? And everybody waits, of course, to the end of, I know we do, end of October, and we hit the send button and let the money go out that way. But, excuse me. Yeah, I think you're going to see a leveling of who's in the business. I think there's going to be a little pain, and this is when professionalism counts. This is when you got to know how to navigate it. I was thinking of a conversation I had with a couple of agents that, the other sides are becoming a little bit aggressive. Again, back to my 6 things. That the 6th one is who's on the other side matters. It matters more now than ever, right now, that you're working with a professional on the other side. Because, of the half a dozen deals I got going on right now, every single one of them's got hiccups to them. Right? And how does Keith and Jerry navigate those hiccups, right? And I know Jerry's a pro, I'm a pro. How do we get through this to get there, to get to the end of it? Because at the end of the day, a contract's only good as the people that are involved in it, right? It's always been that way, always will be that way, to go ahead and do that.
Keith Smith, Real Talk with Keith Smith. He's a realtor, helps people buy and sell houses.
Look, who knew?
Go to the Partners tab on Real Talk with Keith Smith and see the suggestions of who we trust. More comments coming in. This from Rio Road, the king of Rio Road. Jason Howard says, with tight inventory and retirees with cash winning quite often in bidding wars, when you are still talking about this in 5 years, how much will the demographics of Albemarle have changed? Great question.
I think it'll look more like me,
I think
age-wise.
Albemarle and Charlottesville City are trending older.
So I think you're gonna. We've been talking about this. You're gonna have there's 2 buyer pools. I've been saying this for, I think, as long as we've been doing this show. There's 2 buyer pools. There's me. There's the boomer.
And there's the wealthy millennial.
And then there's the millennial that's got the multiple 6-figure plus jobs. Right. That's it. That's and everybody in the middle. That's the reason you call it the missing middle. Right. The missing middle is both physical, right? Townhomes, apartments, that kind of thing. But it's also economic. It was interesting when I did the Regional Housing Partnership Missing Middle, moderated it. I did one of these questions that everybody got a poll on their phone. Define missing middle to you. And it was interesting. Half the room was physical and half the room was financial. So it kind of tells you we're right on the right spot here. But that's what's going to happen. The missing middle is going to be how do we help the housing affordability, how we help the middle. And that's what this conversation, I am confident tonight when I show up to see Neil and Sean, talk to them. Okay,
Are
guys,
you going to be there in person?
I plan to be there,
Oh,
yeah.
very nice.
Unless this cold beats me up a little bit in the afternoon, but I'm hoping to be there. I want to be there. I want to see how these potential elected officials answer the questions. I really do. I think this is probably what we've got, some really big elections happening. I don't want to say we have a lot of big races happening because
Oh, we have huge races.
Well,
Three of five seats.
when you say
are up.
race, I think we're doing competitive stuff. Once the
3 of the 5 seats on city council are up for election. 3 of 5.
Understood.
3 of 6 on board of supervisors in Albemarle County up for election.
got it.
4 of 7 on Albemarle County School Board. Majority on school board, majority on city council, and half in Albemarle County Board of
And
Supervisors.
also Green is majority.
I mean, look, we big
Fluvanna
time elections
has
here.
1 or 2, I think, up there, which is not a majority on it. But but if you take a deep, and I'm reading this email that Neil sent to me. Thank you for doing it. The reality of it is, they're not super contested, but they're huge changes, right? So the city of Charlottesville has a. When I say contested, I'm thinking at the general
election.
At the general election. There are some of them that the city is one of them. We've got a little bit of a competition going on in there, but the rest of them, as I'm reading through his emails, there's a little bit of competition going on in Louisa County. There's really none going on in Greene County that I'm aware of on that end of it. So the point is we're going to end up with a turnover, a pretty massive turnover of electeds. We got
No, we're not.
we are.
No, we're not.
Charlottesville is
You've
going to have.
already said on record that you think Snook and Payne are going to win re-election. So if Snook and Payne
I'm
win
thinking-
re-election,
I'm
that's
thinking-
not a turnover.
No. But
Anyone think Ann Malik's going to lose? I don't.
no.
Anyone think Bela Pisto Kirtley's going to lose?
No.
I don't. Donna Price ain't running again.
So we got
and
it.
the dude that's running in for Donna Price's seat, the Democrat,
Yep.
is in law school at UVA,
Yep.
brand new to the area, bought his house with his parents that he lives in, literally, I think lives in it with his brother, and outside the military, has not had a job in the private sector. I want people to understand that. The Scottsville District Democratic candidate, Donna Price is not running, is a student at UVA Law School who has not had a job in the private sector and has strictly worked in military. I believe he's 29 or 30 years old, and the home he lives in Albemarle purchased with his parents.
You know what? Good for him.
I'm not throwing shade. I'm just,
good for
that is applicable to this election.
So
what I just said.
let me clarify this a little bit better. My comment a little bit better, and maybe I got to pop another cold pill here. There is a potential, unlikely as it may be, in the city of Charlottesville, we could end up, in theory,
Dude, it's going to be, if I was a betting man, it's going to be,
well, you are a betting man.
I
so-
am a betting man.
Yeah,
It's Snook, Payne, and
yeah,
Fenwick.
I would find it very hard to believe.
Snook, Payne, and Fenwick.
But it is mathematically possible that you could have the other 3 elected, and Payne and Snook do not get elected. It is possible.
Of course it's possible.
It's possible. Greene County is the one that I keep on thinking in my head because that's a flat change out of 3 seats, right? Because none of the contesteds, none of the current elected officials are running based on my information. So that's 3 brand new seats that are going to be in Greene County, which we talk about all the time, which is kind of the cutting edge of where we're going to try to hopefully create some more inventory to try to create this one. So there's a strong potential that could hit the brakes there. Fluvanna will get Mosell's not running, so the person that's running it with Mo is probably going to think much like Moselle. So I think Fluvanna is going to kind of stay the way it is at this particular point in time. None of the no-growthers, for lack of a better term, are up for election in Fluvanna. So I'm trying to tie this all back to real estate. So Fluvanna is going to stay the way it is, probably.
Albemarle's going to stay the way it is.
I would agree. I would agree with that.
Malik's going to win. Lepisto Kirtley's going to win. Galloway and McKeel are still on the board.
Correct.
So Galloway, Diantha, Lepisto Kirtley,
Jim.
and Malik.
Jim's on the
that
board.
four right there controls the board.
Yeah, Jim's.
Jim votes like that four does.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. City Council, the likelihood is Payne and Snook get reelected. The likelihood is probably Fenwick, a known commodity, especially with his hard on taxes, hard on zoning campaign and platform. Betting people would say he gets on.
Yeah, what if he doesn't win, though?
Who?
What does that look like?
Fenwick or Snook?
No, Fenwick.
The biggest-
I think we're all.
Here's the biggest thing. If you wanted to say a what if, the biggest what if question is what if Michael Payne doesn't win? That's the biggest what if. Because Michael Payne, of all the people on the board and all the people on City Council, is the largest and hardest pro-affordability housing
Yeah, that's his
advocate.
platform, without
That's his
doubt.
whole damn thing. If Michael Payne loses and does not get reelected, the region loses a political advocate for affordability.
Well, and we're gonna know more about this tonight. We're also trying to put something together. for the
McChesney
16th.
thinks Lloyd may be the most vulnerable. Mayor of McIntyre
and
McChesney
that's-
says that.
and-
And Scott Thorpe says Keith Smith annual dues and MLS fees total about $1,700 a year.
Thank you.
He also agrees that that's going to be
Yeah.
a line.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to see agents getting out of this business
Yeah.
when a $1,700 check comes due.
Well, if you take a look at it, way over 50% of the agents haven't done one transaction. So
$1,700 is a big deal if you have never done a deal.
it's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
So
big
Thorpe agreeing to what you have said.
Yeah, I think I may be wrong, but I think you're going to see a drop. You also, but the flip side to that is, I think you're still also seeing people getting into the business. So the ratio may not be as bad as we think it is.
Carol Thorpe says,
Hey, Carol.
what is the guy's name? I should know what the guy's name. I'm drawing a blank on
I
his
don't
name.
know. What are we
Do
talking
you know
about?
what the Scottsville candidate's name is?
Mike Pruitt.
Yeah, Michael Pruitt. Michael Pruitt says he may have, Carol Thorpe says, Michael Pruitt may have purchased a home with his parents, but at least he bought a home with their help, unlike one counselor, who I'm not going to use his name, who still lives at home with his parents.
So back to the what if.
And Ann Clark Ramey says, thank you for doing the show, Keith, despite how you're feeling.
Thank you.
I hope you feel better. She loves the show.
I'm going down.
Multiple people have said they
Thank
love
you.
the show, and thank you for doing it.
Thank you. Not to overshare, but I've been drinking a lot of vitamin C and water and coffee, and if you see me wiggling in my chair, it's probably getting close to that time. But I wanted to throw throw that out there as a what if? What does it look like?
The mayor just walked by the studio, ironically. Go ahead.
What does it look like if Lloyd doesn't get elected and Michael doesn't get elected? Then we're going to end up with three brand new, well, not brand new because Bob's been around for a while. I just find it hard to believe the math's going to shake out that way. But
Well, you
the
know what
fact,
would be something that you're missing here? The intriguing
Probably
aspect
missing a
here.
lot of things.
Here's the intriguing aspect here. If Lloyd and Michael don't get elected, that means Deshaun Cooper, Natalie Oshrin, and Bob Benwick do get elected.
yeah, mhm.
Cooper and Natalie are both in their 20s, so they would undoubtedly bring a youthful mindset,
Sure.
maybe a mindset of no home ownership to council.
I've been reading both of their printed materials.
No, them currently, I'm saying, not homeowners.
Well, they're currently not homeowners.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. But if you read their literature, they're all about housing affordability. At least that's what I'm reading.
Everyone's about housing
Yeah, yeah,
affordability.
yeah, yeah. It's funny.
It's a
It's-
talking point to win an election.
You know,
if you don't say housing affordability,
No. I'm going to correct you, sir. It's a talking point on the middle of a 66-mile bike ride with a bunch of 40-year-old guys kicking your butt. trying to keep up with them, that they want to talk about housing affordability and what are we going to do. That literally in the middle of a ride, they want to talk about this stuff. Maybe that's why I got sick.
I know,
because I was
but
trying to keep up with them.
John Blair, welcome to the show. You and
Hey,
I
John.
have both highlighted that there's going to be no new housing anytime
Yeah.
soon.
So I just think this is an interesting dynamic. Look, I won't bet my mustache, but this is the way the city is broke, the way it does what it does. The math is weird, man. I mean, somebody can lose by just one vote, right? Because it's this.
That's how all elections are.
Well, I understand that, but I got that, Captain Obvious.
Okay.
But what I'm talking about, since it's not districts,
Yeah.
right? Where me and you were running for Scottsville,
Yeah,
right?
it's total vote.
It's a total vote. It's a different math scenario where there could be very close votes. I just think the math could shake one way or the other very quickly, and then all of a sudden we might end up with 3 new city councilors or 2 new city councilors. It could cut one way or the other. Which is, again, I'm not wearing my Captain Obvious socks, and maybe the medicine is kicking in at this point, and maybe you should say, Smith, shut up.
No,
Talk about
no.
something
We'll
else.
follow it closely. We'll follow it closely. I would say the favorites: Payne, Snook, Fenwick, in the city, in the county, Malik, Lepisto Kirtley, Pruitt's running unopposed. Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, the only election that I see being any kind of, school board is the only race that I see being tight, and that's the general with Dr. Meg Bryce and Allison Spillman.
I'm going to start asking some questions. We'll pivot a little bit here. We'll bring our friend.
Mark it down what I just said.
We'll bring our friend. Yeah. Well, so if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Pretty happy right here.
Other than Charlottesville.
Pretty happy right here. I like what's going on right here.
Okay, well, there you go.
If I could live anywhere in the world, I love Asheville. Have you ever been to Asheville, North Carolina?
No.
Asheville's fantastic. Love Asheville. Had a fantastic time in Hawaii, Maui in particular.
Where would you live, Jude, if you could pick any place in the world?
Maybe the Florida Keys.
Let's see. I'd have to go with either Savannah, Georgia, or Madrid, Spain.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good choice, Madrid.
Those are great Spain. The question is, if he could work for any company in the world, would he still work for I Love Seville? Hell yeah, that's what he would say.
I know Judah very well, and he does not lie.
What is going on over there? Look at that. That's strange right there.
Yeah, you got to go ahead and put in a. So mine wouldn't be one; it'd be a couple. But that's just because that's the way.
You would be overseas somewhere.
I'll tell you, if it was in the United States and I had the money to do it, I would go to San Diego.
Okay, San Diego's beautiful. I
If I had the money, right? Money wasn't an issue. I don't think I would live there. I would own something there that I could go visit on a regular basis. And it's interesting with that question. The first thing that comes to my mind is, where's my grandkids? Literally, that's what's like, okay, well, we want to be close to the grandkids. Because Yon and I are kind of going
Well, I
through.
mean, you got a pretty good situation coming here with your daughters moving from
Yeah,
Seattle
we're
to
very lucky.
Richmond. So you're going to have your one daughter, a son, and a granddaughter less than an hour from your Fluvanna house. Now you just have to persuade Yaz and Harry to
I
move
may
down
or may
here.
not have timed
Harry, you moving down here, Harry?
from our house to Tavola sitting at the bar. It took me exactly an hour.
From her house in Richmond?
Yeah, from the house in Richmond.
Well, she's not technically in Richmond, right?
Oh, no, it's in the city of Richmond.
What's it called?
Well, it's right next. It's by Willow Lawn, but
Okay.
but Willow Lawn is technically in Henrico. But you just go a little bit, would be east from there. You start going into the city. So I think they call it the West End over that way. It's between Patterson and Monument
Okay.
Avenues in that area. So, guys,
Bob Yarborough says Kauai, if not here. That was the first part of our honeymoon, Kauai. May have got my wife pregnant somewhere between Kauai and Maui on our honeymoon.
oh, great, thanks.
It was either on the back
got
end
a-
of the Kauai leg or on the front
I
end
got a
of the
splitting
Maui
headache
leg.
already. Thanks.
I mean, that's a honeymoon. We pulled the goalie. You're supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Are you not?
I don't know. Never went on a honeymoon. Never did. We got let me see. I paid 158 Canadian dollars to get married. Included 2 wedding bands, a dinner, and a marriage certificate.
What was for dinner?
You know, I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I don't remember.
You went straight to dessert? No.
May have went to dessert before that.
Okay. Okay. How about them Mets? How about them Mets? I am.
So we got
going-
37 years coming up. So anybody who
Congratulations on 37
May
years.
26th,
37
tomorrow,
years of
and you're gonna ask me how did that math work after tomorrow is Yasmina, my oldest daughter's 37th birthday, and our marriage is 37 in March 26th.
I won't ask about that. I got no problem with that.
Yeah, no, it was great. When we got married, she was a couple of weeks in a little basket.
Yeah, why would I have a problem with that? I got no problem with that.
I was not going to enter into a new relationship without finishing my other contract. Because my contract in the Marine Corps, what I did, I was not allowed to get married.
Oh, okay. Contract you meant the job you had with the government.
I had to sign.
I wasn't sure if there was a.
I had to sign. No. What I did on my
Okay.
duty, I literally had to sign a contract that I wouldn't get married, right? And oh, by the way, if they ever grab me, they'll never come get me.
So you're allowed to make a baby
Keep on
with
going.
your contract. You're allowed to make.
There was
the
no
baby.
specific clause.
It says nothing about making the baby.
Nothing about
But
that.
there is a specific clause about marriage.
Yep. We're not
That's-
getting married.
that's
You
insane.
had to be single.
Insane.
You had to be single.
Doesn't matter if you just don't get married.
And
Right?
your point is?
I know. I'm just saying. You find that odd, though, right?
No. Not
You
at
don't
all.
find that a bit curious?
You know what? Never thought about it until this very moment, until you said that. You know? We only knew each other for 3 months.
Trace is watching in Houston, Texas right now. Trace is a fantastic entrepreneur. Hello,
love Houston,
Trace.
Texas.
Trace, did you sell your business? I think you did, right? Did I see that on social
Maybe in
media?
August, not so much, but Houston's a pretty neat town.
Mustache Dan Pettit is watching the program. He said he's going out to San Diego next month.
There you go.
And his 50th anniversary is on May 26th.
There you go.
And his
Happy
son
50th.
lives in San Diego.
We should make it so long.
Yeah, 50 years. Congratulations, Dan.
50 years. Yeah.
Bob Yarborough says, I apologize for prompting the image that led to Jerry talking about
Thank you.
impregnating his wife.
Thank you.
It's because of your comment, Bob, of
Yeah.
Kauai.
Yeah.
I just want you to know that,
Yeah.
Bob Yarborough.
Well, back on Hawaii.
That was
Let's
for
go
you,
back
man.
to places to live and back on Hawaii. I don't know if have you known anybody actually lived on Hawaii for an extended period of time?
No, you've made comments on previous shows. Folks that live on Hawaii often find themselves very depressed.
Or islands?
Yeah,
It's the
very
same,
depressed.
It's the same place where we go because
Very isolated, very depressed.
we're going to our place for our wedding anniversary for 2 weeks in St. Martin. It's not our place, but this is where we go. And it's an island, and we're asked all the time, well, why don't you move here? Man, any conversation I've had with anybody that's an expat that lives on an island like that, they're either getting off every 6 months or every 3 months because, that's it. You're on an island. I mean, there's...
You get stir crazy. One thing I did learn during our time in Hawaii, and we spent a couple weeks, was you have 3 types of people in Hawaii. You have the tourists, you have those that are serving the tourists,
Sure.
and then you have the obscenely wealthy
Sure.
that just have like multiple houses.
Yeah,
they
yeah,
just
they
happen to
just-
have a house in Hawaii.
No, they just happen to have a house in
Yeah.
Hawaii.
So there's this huge wealth disparity because the tourists are coming, they're trying to roll in it because they're visiting, they're on vacation, they're in Hawaii, they're spending money.
Would you let's assume money wasn't an issue. Would you buy homes in different parts of the
Of
world?
course.
Yeah, I would never do that. Actually.
Why not?
I
I had this conversation with my wife. She says, I want the freedom of traveling anywhere and not being tied with my travel to a location because I own a home there.
So before the birth,
That's what she said.
Before the birth of Airbnb, I would have been in the same boat. About 20 years ago, I would have been saying the same thing.
Of what my wife said?
No, what you're saying.
Of owning homes.
Yeah.
Okay.
20 years ago, I would have said, yeah, let's do that. Now, we're actually looking into this thing called nesting.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
No.
So what happens is you own a home in wherever. Let's call it Hawaii while we're on Hawaii.
Okay, sure.
I go live in your home for 3
Call it
months.
Maui.
Maui, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then you come live in my house for 3 months, and we swap houses.
Okay.
They call it nesting.
And is it free?
No, there's some fees and stuff like that
Okay.
together with it.
That's brilliant.
But that's what they do, and I know actually a
Why
couple.
can't you just do that with your buddies?
Oh, yeah. You're supposed to have those?
Come on, you have friends. You just go to your buddy. You have well, I guess it would be difficult because you would have to have the buddy and like having the pad in the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Because you would want the buddy to have.
I'm not going to,
You don't want your
72nd and 3rd in
stay
Bay
at,
Ridge. Yeah, let's go hang out in Bay Ridge again. Walk down the street in my John Travolta.
the mayor just walked by again.
I know that my John Travolta not spandex, polyester suit, walking up and down.
That's the first time you've ever referenced that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that movie.
Why?
I grew up in the neighborhood when they shot. I literally grew up in the neighborhood that they shot it in.
Trey sold her business in Houston, and she's going back to teaching high school math in the fall, she says.
Oh, good for her.
Grayson
Is that
watching-
a passion job? It's a passion job, I bet you.
I bet.
It's a passion job. Good for her.
Grayson watching the program right now, you guys are absolutely on point. This show, I say this comment often on this show, I come for the real estate, but I stay for the chatter and the conversation. Great work, boys. Thank you, Grayson.
Thank you. Grayson.
Bob Yarborough, you talked me out of it. I'm staying at Hayrake Lane in Redfields. I'm not going to Maui again or Kauai after that visual, Jerry. Thank you. Oh, Bob Yarborough. I love you, Bobby.
But he's right, though. I took that off of my list.
Genuinely, Bob Yarborough's positive energy is radiating on the set right now through the comments section on the I Love Seville group on Facebook.
I hate to be the party pooper, folks, but I'm fading fast.
And you have to go to the bathroom.
I need to use a little boy's room, and I need to pop a pill. My head's I got a pulsating headache at the moment.
Keith Smith, Judah Wickower, Jerry Miller, Real Talk with Keith Smith. Show archived at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. Show presented by Yes Realty Partners. Keith Smith back in the saddle on Friday at 10:15
Without
a.m.
a cold, I hope. Pull the partners tab down, please.
Support them.
Support them. We couldn't have this fun
Without
them. They're a lot of fun. Please, 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 please. And you know what? I've got to give a shout out to all of them.
Oh,
You know, we haven't lost one since we've been, right?
no?
Right?
No.
Every one of our partners have been with us the whole time we've been doing this. So thank you so much.
I love it. Keith Smith, Judah Wickower, Jerry Miller, I Love Seville Show. T-minus 1 hour, 1 minute. So long, everybody. Keith, that was fun.
Can I go now?
You can go right
Thank you.